With another edition of the Etihad Cargo Connections, I'm AP Harold, and he's another fine horseman. It's Mick Price, trainer for Jacquinot, half of the famous Price-Kent racing combination. Mick, thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure, AP.
Hey, the Everest, Mick, is now in its second half decade, just starting its sixth race coming up in a few weeks. When you first heard about this unorthodox race, what were your thoughts, and what are your thoughts now, 5 or 6 years later?
Well, I'll tell you what the number one thought was. This is interesting. And you know the man behind it, don't you?
Big time player in Australia.
Peter V'landys. I think Peter V'landys has got the biggest set in Australian racing admin. He could do racing admin anywhere in the world. Actually, he does NRL too. I don't know how they let him do that, but anyway, he does a good job there. But didn't they get the idea from America?
That's what I've been told is like a lot of things, America may have come up with it first, but somebody over your way, whether it's the Japanese or in this case, the Australians, refined it. We got the assembly line going with a Model T, but then Toyota and Lexus, everything improved it. I would say the same thing with the slot holding in the Everest. You guys have refined it, and the 2.0 is a lot better.
Well, it is a colossal race. It is aimed at sort of a resurgence in the whole market in Australian racing. V'landys is on about appeal to a younger audience. So the whole day is designed around appeal to the younger audience. And sometimes, if you go to the races and you go to members, it's like God's waiting room in there. So that's not what we want. We want more relaxed racing. We don't want to wear tie at the races. We don't want to, smart casual. That's fine. We want the people to come and enjoy and embrace. The whole basis of horse racing was when a few farmers said, we work hard all week. We're going down to the paddocks. We're going to have a few beers and we're going to run our horses. And I think that people have lost sight of the enjoyment of racing. You try and get in the races in Australia sometimes and there's someone on a gate saying, wow, you know what I mean? There's another gate in a park, wow, you know what I mean? They should make it more relaxed. But anyway, V'landys' idea of the Everest is a sensational idea in this country. If the constitution of Racing Australia wasn't broken, this would be graded into a Group 1 in no time. But because Racing Australia hasn't met as a corporate governance thing, once they properly meet and get that proper corporate governance back in, it will be a Group 1 in no time, in which case the whole world will recognise it. At the moment, look, the quality of horse should demand the Group 1 status. And for politics behind the scene, it doesn't, but the race has everything. It's exciting, the build-up, the slot holders, connecting the whole thing together. It's fantastic race. And it's got status if you're a colt.
And Mick, it's the second richest race in the world, $15 million. That's a ton of cash, and that's why it's attracting these top flight horses, trainers, jockeys, owners, slot holders. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And also, it should attract colts. I mean, we get a lot of geldings in this country, but I like my colts, and we have a barn full of colts, and I keep colts, and I've sent a lot of colts to stud, and I'm 100% horse trainer, and I enjoy getting up in the morning, and I enjoy the challenge of colts, any trainer can just go and whop their nuts off and just have these robots hanging around. But, we've sent $60,000 colts, turned them into $1 million colts, $100,000 colts, turned them into 20 million, $50,000 colt, we turn into 20 million. The colts that walk in, I've got great riders, a great barn. I'm not a big trainer, but we enjoy our colts. And I just think the Everest, when Racing Australia gets their stuff together, it will be a Group 1 race overnight.
I appreciate you editing stuff instead of what you're about to say.
Stuff is a common term.
That's right. That's right. Mick Price is our guest. Among other things, he's the trainer for Jacquinot. So let's talk about that fantastic colt. I just got finished rewatching a couple of times the finish, the close to the Golden Rose. What a finish. What a close. Heart-stopping stuff. How proud are you of your work, the jockey, and the horse?
Well, you know what? I am a total optimist. and I hate negativity. I hate people telling me I can't do something. And I get these colts. I've got a red folder there in the office. It starts off this spring probably with 25 horses in it. Everything's timed per week to culminate in these better races. I mean, you know, we're 2 months into the spring, and I probably bowled 5 or 6 horses out of that red folder for varying reasons. And I can be wrong, that's fine. But you know what? I saw that Golden Rose. I saw 1,400 metres. I saw how difficult it was to win. But I didn't quite measure the improvement from that horse from his 2-year-old year to his 3-year-old year. But it's too late to measure it after the event. So if you're an optimist and you say, what are the races I want to win? What are the races I think I can win? And the Golden Rose is a Group 1 horse. Now that horse, having won that race, has now got stud masters behind the scenes negotiating on a career for that horse. So for the owners, he loves his racing. These people love their racing. They are that excited by it. And you know what? When that horse went through as a yearling, he was unloved, unwanted. I don't know if he even got a bid. But Lindsay Maxted is a really good owner. He's actually chairman of Coolmore on the board of Coolmore. So you know he's got a good feel for the industry. He said, Mick, this is my family. This is my family. I love this family, and I'm not going to give this horse away. You could have bought him for 120,000.
Yeah, I was going to say at the Magic Million sale, nobody wanted him. Is that right?
Including me.
Well, there's some honesty.
He asked me, and I said, Lindsay, whatever you do, get rid of this thing.
Wow.
You know what? Because the Magic Million is full of robust, running Australian 2-year-olds that everyone loves a 2-year-old in this country. And he walked out of his box. He was tired. He was a bit close in the hocks. He was loose walking. He was light framed, and he just didn't belong in that sale. Had they waited until March and put him through another sale, he would have been a lot better. But in the context of the Magic Million sale, he got lost. But to Lindsay Maxted's credit, he just said, Mick, this is my family. I love the family, and I'm keeping this horse. And would you like to train him? I said, I'd love to.
Mick, not to be overly dramatic or sappy or trying to turn this into a Disney something, but isn't there a lesson that Jacquinot is teaching human beings about, hey, you know, if nobody loves you early and you don't have some success, keep fighting and keep trying and things can get better?
Look, I'm not a life coach. I'm just a horse trainer. But I can only just say that racing is full of these stories that go from zero to hero. And us geniuses and scientists that look at all these things and measure them and get there like we know everything, racing doesn't allow that. Racing says, here's a good colt with a big motor and you're going to train it and you didn't know how good it was. And that happens all the time. You see it all the time. That's the beauty of our game, where, the guy that is a normal guy in the street that takes a share in a horse can beat the shakes. And that's what's beautiful about our game.
You're exactly right. And look over here in the States with Rich Strike in the Kentucky Derby, came out of nowhere to win that race. Mick Price is our guest, Price Kent Racing. Let's talk about the other half of Price Kent Racing. Michael Kent Jr., what does he bring to the table, and how do you guys balance each other out in terms of responsibilities, personalities, ages, philosophies, that type of thing?
Right. So I'm 63. He's 31, I think. He's a good, fit young man. I saw him in Newmarket riding a horse when I was over there. I went on a yearling week when he was in our car. So he was quiet, but I thought he soaks in a lot of information. He's intelligent. He was very well educated. His father's a good trainer. He studied veterinary science. He had no idea. I mean, I'm watching all the time people, you watch people, you watch horses. And it came to be that Caulfield was closing where we did train. I needed to rejig and remanage my whole business. I knew we were going to Cranbourne. I only trained 80 horses at a time. So I just pulled him aside. I said to him, listen, do you want to be a horse trainer? If you do, come back tomorrow and we'll talk. If you don't, good luck. And he came back the next day. He was quite surprised, but look, he's a very good organizer. He's good behind the scenes. He's good with horses. He's actually a good rider. He's actually a good rider. He's too heavy to be a proper jockey. He was what they call a picnic jockey, which he said he was the best ever, but that's okay. He's a brilliant organizer, which allows me to train 80 horses every day. And that is that I'm so enjoying it, being able, not having to do the background stuff, the organizing, the movements, the transport, you know. I do the vet, the farrier, the work riders, the horses, the jockeys, the races, pre-race, post-race. I'm with my horses all day, and I'm you know, it's just superb to be able to train your horses.
It sounds a lot like a successful restaurant. You've got the kitchen manager and you've got the front of the house. He sounds like the kitchen manager and you sound like the front of the house.
Don't know about those analogies. I never get those analogies, but anyway, that's a good one, I'm sure.
Mick, what's on the agenda for Jacquinot leading up to the Everest? And if things go well, where would you like to see him race afterwards?
Yeah, okay, so that's a good question. So what type of horse is he? He's a horse with a bit of a light constitution, albeit that is a colt. And when we saw him win first up, the traditional path was go to Sydney, 2 weeks in the lead up to the Golden Rose, 2 weeks into the Golden Rose, which every horse took. But I just thought, you know, this horse is clean-winded, lightly fleshed. Keep him bright, keep him looking for something to do. He had one soft trial leading in. He had some gallops. Of course, he had some gallops leading in. He had 4 weeks between runs. And if you're a punter, looking at the form guide, you'd say, well, he's got this wrong, this bloke. But this is the beauty of being able to spend time with your horses. You look, you see, you watch them during the day, and he exploded after 4 weeks. So he's 3 weeks between runs now. He's had a very soft week. He's very bright. He's not going to trial. He's just going to have cut his gallops back to 800-metre gallops. His last gallop will probably be in company, where we just wind him a little bit. And that's him. I've got to get him back to 1,200 metres. So all your training can be good, and then there's the race. Sometimes I don't know what goes wrong.
We never do we? That adaptability, though, to go from 1,400 to 1,200. If I'm going to play devil's advocate, I'm going to say, hey, that's a great close at the Golden Rose, but the Everest is a little bit shorter. What do you do specifically as a trainer to work? You know, that's a big difference there, 200 meters, and that short of a time to get him ready for that.
It is indeed. You know what? This week I didn't work him for 3 days. He went in the sand roll, had a play around. He went in the pool at Rose Hill. He went on the ground walker until he's really starting to bounce back. You know, he's really showing us for this week that he needs a gallop. So on Saturday, I might run what they call even time here, 15 to the furlong, and then I've got 2 weeks to prepare him, and then he's up and galloping. So shorten his work up, keep the feed right up to him, and make sure he's got some bounce in him.
When you look at this field, Nature Strip, Eduardo, Mass Crusader, the list goes on and on. What type of race does Jacquinot need to run, assuming those horses run some pretty good races themselves, to have a chance to cross that line first?
Yeah, you know what I need? I need speed on the first 600 metres. I need them to attack each other. I need them, because he's not a horse that begins well. He takes 50 metres to amble out of the gates. He gets his stride going. He'll be rear of midfield in the race. I need him to draw out. I need a momentum run. I can't afford to have a traffic run. You know, he can't stop and start, but I need the speed on. If the speed is on the Everest, he can close. If the speed is not in the Everest, he'll be disadvantaged. So I think they're going to have a lot of fast horses, and just hopefully they're not listening and they all attack each other.
He's Mick Price. I'm AP Harold. This is the Etihad Cargo Connections. Etihad carries a lot of things, including horses around the world. When we think about the advances in transporting horses since the 1970s, when really thoroughbred racing exploded globally and you had all the breeding between the continents, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the safety and efficiency of moving horses around?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, they still have the same pallets, the same partitions, the same methodology of you put your horse in, they rise them up, they put on the rollers, they roll them back in the plane. The bigger planes aren't that good.
You mentioned you and many others missed on Jacquinot that initial sale. You've got the yearling sales right around the corner. What's your typical process as you get ready for that? And will you be participating at the ready to race sales that surround the Spring Carnival and the Everest?
So yes, we'll be at William Inglis, who are trying to bolster their sale every year. They're getting better and better. So I'll definitely be up there, because I'll be up there to train my horse and to be at the yearlings, to be at the 2-year-old sales. Look, I'm a believer. You don't have the quality and quantity that you have at yearling sales. It's a way step down, but it doesn't mean, actually, you know what? I have an American guy called Jay Kilgore who measures stride length for us, and we pay him for that information. Then I look at stride length, and we've bought some nice horses based on his information. He's a very scientific guy. But we'll be buying, and when we go to the yearling sales in January, it's just like, not this again, you know, because in this country, all the trainers, you're very lucky if you get an order. So it's like you have to fill your shop with stock, and your shop is the internet window. Your shop is your website, and people go shopping on the website. With our software, we communicate with an owner individually. Whilst we have a manager per se of a horse, we communicate individually. So all the owners in this country now, they basically shop on the net. So we have good standing vision, good photos, good videos, and it comes up on your laptop perfect. So we have to fund it. So 90 days interest free, 1% a month after that. You got to be careful.
Mick Price is our guest, half of the Price Kent Racing combination and the trainer for Jacquinot. You mentioned you're 63, but you've got the energy of somebody who's 23. Let's delve into your past. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
Oh, look, you know what? I'm a Melbourne boy. My old man was a bookmaker. I'm one of 9. We had 3 boys, 6 girls. We grew up at the races. I think we just sort of shunted out of the house every Saturday. I love the horses. I love outdoor. I was never going to be a great employee, albeit that I was a good employee for 13 years. I did have to have a bit of a frontal lobotomy to be an employee, you know, because I always wanted to be an employer, always wanted to run my own business. So I had to sort of pull my head in there for a while. But I learned off the best trainers in the country. I did a thorough apprenticeship because I thought I'm just so dumb and I'm not getting it. But towards the last 2 or 3 years, I thought the light went in. I remember saying to my beautiful father, I said, I will be a good horse trainer. No doubt about it.
Mick, we just learned a little bit about your family. Let's look at Jacquinot's family and Rubik, the sire. What can you tell us about Rubik?
Rubik was bred by one of my fantastic old owners from Sri Lanka, Mustafa Yassin. So he went through the yearling sales and they asked me to look at him. He was an Encosta horse. He was a sprinting bull. He was a very fast horse. And he just got beaten the Oakley Plate. Gerald Ryan trained him. He was a friend of mine, where we keep our horse there when we go to Sydney. He was a sprinting bull. And okay, he stood at Coolmore. He did a lot of mares. So he's gone up and then he's come down. He's been removed from Coolmore, New South Wales, where the big boys go, and he's down here in Victoria with, doing his best. He's doing his best. He's 35,000 plus GST. They tell me when Jacquinot won that the stud got an extra 40 mares. So I don't know. If you like Rubik, you can buy a Rubik. They're buyable. But I think as a stallion, he has to do more. But they're out there.
And finally, Mick, when we interview a lot of horsemen, they'll try to dazzle us with the trophies and pictures of these winning horses behind them. You've got a picture of a cow behind you. I love the humility. Tell us a little bit about that bull or cow behind you.
Well, you know what? I don't have one trophy. I do not have one. I do not own one trophy. I'll give them all away. And that is Frank the bull. Shona loves her bulls, and that's Frank. And if Frank could talk, then you'd be interviewing Frank.
I tell you what, Mick Price is a frank, candid interview. It's been a lot of fun. Trainer for Jacquinot, half of the Price Kent Racing combination. Really appreciate your time, respect what you do, and more importantly, how you do it. Etihad Cargo Connections, AP Herald signing off, and Mick, we wish you the best.
Very nice talking to you, AP. All the best.